This is Ian Iliana of I Hate LA, Love Me Anyway. It's my podcast where I discuss environmental issues. Once again, looking so nice with my bandana on. It's like I live in the fucking 80s. It's so weird the things I do for fashion. But, my hair is wild. I'm a wild person. So that's what I do. Recently, I started going on Reddit and talking to people about the current situation with the tariffs in Canada. And I know that the Canadians are just so up in arms about it, but they don't understand that it's a gift. Sometimes when you hear no, it means that another door can be opened. I learned that from Katy Perry. But this is a great opportunity. Hello, CT. Hello, hello. This is a great opportunity for Canada. I spoke to them at length about how I want to do my North American tour there, but also I want to inform them of what they can do in order to safeguard the environment while I'm on tour in Canada. This tariff situation is wonderful news because thousands of local Canadian products were sitting on shelves because people had brand loyalty to these American imports. Hi, Jaden. Hi, CT. Hi. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I mean, you like what you like, and sometimes it could be cheaper that way. Sometimes you get a slightly higher quality that way. There's a lot of factors when it comes to making a decision when you're purchasing something. However, when we start looking at things like food, I don't know the full situation of what's going on in Canada. I would like to, but I'd like to think that they can grow things like spinach, lettuce, some other things they have to import, like oranges, I'm sure, or avocados. But how many fruits and vegetables can they grow within that area that are just readily available? And now there's an opportunity, there's even an incentive to purchase local. And that situation with Canada can same principle apply to what you do here in America. How often do we go to national chains? How often do we go to supermarkets and buy the same brand over and over and over again? And then you have those little food kiosks where they say, could we at least let you try something different? Try this new drink, try this new food. We have samples. And how often do people just say, no, I'd rather go with XYZ because XYZ is something that I've used for years? Local businesses need your assistance because it takes everything to come up with something new. It takes everything to try in a market where people like predictability. You bite into something and it tastes exactly the same. Something new is scary, but sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's good to put yourself out there and try something new. So I'm saying it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful, that Canada now has an opportunity to say, let's look at what Canada has been doing with food and services that we just ignored. How many television shows do they have in Canada where it's Canadian performers, it's Canadian actors, it's set in Canada, but because you're used to the big hype that comes with these Hollywood things. You just say, no, I would rather not see people in my hometown. I would rather not see people in my home country. I'd rather not see people speak French on my television program. I'd rather not celebrate the artistry and the beauty of where I come from, because I'd rather just go with what everybody else is watching around the world. Not to mention, if you were spending good money to watch these programs that came from America, you were also spending your time that way. And thank you, new people, for coming into the chat. I'm an environmentalist. I speak about issues of importance, specifically human rights and the preservation of our forests here in North America. I care about other countries too outside of North America, but I live in North America currently, so that's what I will talk about. You spend time watching these American programs, which you could be doing something else. You could be going for a nice walk, a hike. You could go to your local bar, your pub, whatever. You could take up a sport. You could do homework help with your kids. How many kids have poor grades because you say, why don't the two of us stare into a screen instead of talking about what you're doing in school? And I know that each parent has their own style, but the television is not a surrogate parent. It doesn't give a shit whether or not your kid flunks out. It doesn't give a shit whether or not your kid feels ignored living in a household with you. Oh, hello, Washington. Welcome to my chat. I talk about environmental issues here. Specifically, I'm talking about the Canadian tariffs and how Canada, like Brexit, it'll take a while for them to see the true benefit, the gift that Donald Trump has bestowed upon you. And I know that a lot of people are saying, that Donald Trump, how dare he do this? And it's like, well, if you think about it, he reminded you of how precious and beautiful Canadian products and services are. Because now it's cheaper, so either you are going to invest in Canadian replacements for all the American products you used to buy before, or you're just going to come up with something else and something that might actually be more healthy. I mean, I pick on brands and, major distributors. I don't want to be too specific this time because I feel like I'm coming down on them a little bit harshly about the quality of their food. But if quality was an issue beyond just having local food, you should take that into account. If your doctor would not recommend this food to you because it came from America and it was of poor quality, then it being more expensive is a great thing for you, because it's a wake-up call that maybe you shouldn't put that in your body, or maybe you shouldn't watch that program and be so enthralled that you ignore having a life. How many Canadians are stuck in their homes watching American programs and living a fantasy life when Canada is the jewel? Canada is the prize. I'm looking at Canada right now because I'm going to emigrate there. And I'm looking at it as if it is an unexplored wilderness that is just right outside the city gates. Just right around the corner, there's a forest there. Right around the corner, there is nature. I want that. I want that so much. I want to be able to walk down the street and not see litter. I mean, I know that there's still litter in Canada. I mean, not everyone's perfect, and sometimes litter escapes the bins and whatever, but I pick up litter. I pick up litter, and I see a lot of Americans who don't. I don't like this neighborhood, but I respect the land because even if I dislike the people, the land didn't bother me. The soil didn't, the plants didn't. So yes, pick up some litter every now and then. I encourage my fans to care enough to do that. Hi Clint. Hi Jay. Hi Jay. Um, that's a fair question. I speak Ian. That's the only way I can put it. Most of my mates, as I said before, Welsh, Irish, Australian, New Zealanders. So I didn't speak to Americans, and I still don't. I refuse to because of my military sexual trauma from Lackland Air Force Base, where Master Sergeant Miranda of the United States Air Force sexually abused me. So, yeah, I don't. Oh yeah, yeah. I have to rep my Brazilian roots, and plus, I'm just going to be honest. My family are immigrants. We're not 100% Caucasian. We have a little bit of Caucasian in us, but not too much. So, oh, congratulations, Clint. Congratulations. I'm so glad that you're going to be, putting yourself out there. And I encourage all of my fans. I mean, I know, thank you for coming into my podcast, but start one of your own because there are things that you are passionate about and things that you want to talk about with other people. Do that because in America and in places like Canada, it's really easy to just say, no one wants to hear my opinion. Everyone needs to hear your opinion. Even if they disagree, they need to hear it. They need to hear that someone is passionate about something, that there are issues going on in society. Nutrition is a huge issue. A lack of respect for the environment because people don't see the intrinsic holistic value to vegetables. When you eat healthy, you are taking in a sacrament, a blessing between you and what you eat. When you start thinking of food that way, it doubles the potency because when you eat under stress, you are hurting your body. It doesn't matter that you're eating vegetables or you're eating fruits or you have enough fiber when you're stressed. When you are stressed, that nutritional value is diminished because all your body can think is, I'm under attack, which is precisely why I do not want to live in California. And the name of this podcast is I Hate LA, Love Me Anyway. Because I'm sitting here and I'm taking small bites of my probiotic trail mix. I'm all about the trail mix lately. It tastes awful. Absolutely the worst thing I've ever tasted. Can't get enough of it because I see it as my body reaching for nutrition and it being granted the blessing of the ingredients so that I may continue to live and do more with my life. Absolutely, Clint. I'm going to read that out. I completely agree. That's why I'm on here advocating for the impoverished around the world for health and mental healing because we've just too far gone and we need the help. Even though I have an attitude of I hate LA, love me anyway, and fuck America, I still consider myself a patriot because a true patriot says there is something wrong with America, that America is sick, that America is mentally disturbed, that America is malnourished, that America is cruel. When you say that out loud, you are seeing the truth. And then you are also saying, I reject that. I reject that for myself. I reject that for the youth of this nation. Youth of this nation should enjoy clean air, they should enjoy fresh food, and they should be in environments that help them grow socially. I want to read that out, but I'm going to leave that in the chat because I think people need to read that and then find out what that means to them. I'm in a country that I can see the cracks in the foundation. Things like these LA fires and the apathy and just I want to say the cruel nature to throw a party over the carcasses of dead animals that were burned alive without trying to rebuild their habitat, without trying to repair the environment that caused these fires to happen so that these animals died or were horribly disfigured. Where is that conversation? It's here. It's here on my podcast because I won't let it go. I won't let it go that animals and birds in America are fighting for their lives, and we can't have the decency to say, you know what, we need to change. Could we at least start there? Could we accept the fact that something went wrong? Because right now it's just we had fire in California. It's not, we caused fire to blaze under control after we had to call the National Guard. Like, if that is the intensity of the fire, then you have to admit that it's completely out of control. If you have to call the National Guard to go firefight for you, it's no longer under your control. So why not just admit that the environment caused it, that the populace voted people into office who did not do enough to help the environment so that these plants would not be thirsty. I know it's not as simple as walking into the forest, finding a tree, and then pouring a bottle of water on top of them and just saying, here you go, tree, drink up. It's not that simple. But we have to do something. America does have a problem focusing. And Clint, you're absolutely right. People are so concerned about keeping up appearances and, America first, America is the greatest at this, America is the greatest at that. And we're missing out on the point of, where is the quality of life? I'm an environmentalist because I know that when you improve the environment, you have a higher quality of life. Some people think a higher quality of life is a bigger screen, a faster internet, or maybe having the latest gadgets. I think quality of life is the ability to breathe clean air, have fresh food, and to raise your children in a way that you know that they are safe and guided toward a better future. I said something yesterday about being upset at these parents in America who trust these schools with their most precious of items. You labor in a hospital for how long during childbirth to bring this thing into the world, but somehow around a certain age, you just say, go on, Go on. These government buildings will take care of you. These government buildings will protect you. These government buildings will raise you into a better person. That is not how things work. You can't just give up your children. And that's why I'm upset, because gun violence in our schools is a huge issue. But before the gun violence, parents abandoned their kids to the American education system. And Clint, that's what I want. This is why I'm fighting with the VA for my benefits. Because yes, I want to be an engineer, and yes, I want to go to Mars, I want to do this, I want to do that. I also just want to be a farmer. I also want my kids to grow up on a farm. I want my kids to be homeschooled. I want my kids to know the joy of working with their hands, handling animals, eating fresh food, running around when they're free, just enjoying the physicality of life, living in their bodies, not just escaping with their mind by staring at screens all day, because that is pretty much what my life is. I have PTSD from military sexual trauma. It is traumatic for me to go outside. My dog has to take a shit, and all I can think is I can't have anybody even walk near me. If they walk near me, I have to push my arms out because I'm saying, don't even come within arm's length of me. If we have to share a sidewalk, we share a sidewalk, but you cannot come near me whatsoever. That is the level of trauma that I have. I don't want that for my kids. I know that I'll be a hard father to deal with because I'll be extremely strict, and I'll be the type of father that says, nope, you don't go to the playground and hang out with other kids. You don't leave the farm. You stay right there. I'll make sure that you pass every test with 100% A's, because that's the kind of father that I am. I'm the father who will sit down and do the homework with the kids, because that is what American families have missed. They have missed that when teachers send your children back to you with homework, you're supposed to do it with them. It doesn't matter that that is your best subject, though, or it was your worst subject when you were in school. When your kids sit down and do their homework, they need you. They need you there not to have the right answer, but to encourage them to discover the right answer, to keep searching for the right answer till they get it right. They need that encouragement. So when Canada learns that things like the major streaming platforms are going to be more expensive or not able to come to Canada in the way that they want, I say, good riddance. I love those programs too, but good riddance. Now take that time that you were going to spend watching those shows, sit down with your kids, sit down with your family, and regain that self-respect that you lost when you just gave it all up to a foreign country and their hypnotist. And I'll say it, it's very alluring, it's very seductive to sit down and watch television, especially American television. They know every trick in the book. And Clint, you're right. My mother started me on reading. She sat down with me, she read books to me, and I've always been a fan of reading. And then somehow along the way, I stopped reading quite as much. I started getting involved with television and movies and saying, well, this is who I am. This level of fandom is how, and I'm going to block this person after this, but I'm going to read it out because it's important. It's amazing how one YouTube nobody has all the answers for the world's problems. When you become a celebrity, you give up your rights to speak your mind because your entire business is telling people what they want to hear, not what they need to hear. I hope people dislike my music. I hope people avoid my music. I make music as art therapy. I don't make music to be popular. If people like my music, great. I don't know why you would, but to each their own. And as to having all the answers for the world's problems, yeah, the answers for the world's problems are very simple, and I'm going to tell it to you every single time. And that's what this podcast is about, because there are people who are starving in Africa and they're happy. They're happy and they're healthier because when they experience droughts and they have to go kilometers out just to find a clean watering hole that they can bring all that water back. And I've seen the tapes of the people, and they have to carry the jugs on their head, and so this way they know that they can't spill it, and it's a whole ordeal. But they are happy. They are happy. They know what is going on in the world, as opposed to the rest of us in America who, you go without your caffeinated beverage and you fucking flip out. So thank you, Clint. I always appreciate you coming into the chat. I will check in with your podcast. I will wish you luck on that. And yeah, I'm going to just do some housekeeping. I don't consider myself a celebrity, and I hope you never hear from me. I hope that people ignore me, ignore my music, ignore this podcast, because this message isn't for you. This message is for people who look at their country, look at their community, and say, I want more. I don't know about you. I don't know where you are in life. I don't know if you have your own kids or you plan on having kids someday. Who in their right mind, after seeing Sandy Hook, after seeing Virginia Tech, still believe that you can just let your kids walk out the door and let some strangers who do not know them, have no vested interest in keeping them alive or doing anything to raise them up as upright citizens that could do something in this world, you just relinquish all of that in this country. And you do that with most countries. You take these schools and you say, babysit my kids so I don't have to. So I can go to work, babysit my kids. That is wrong. That is hurting us as a country, and it is extremely dangerous. Take your fucking kids back. Take your kids and raise them yourself, because they're going to these schools, they're being bullied, they are being subjected to drugs and peer pressure. And I know that that is a fact of life that you can't ignore. And if you really taught your children properly, they should be able to handle anything the world throws at them. I don't think your kids are ever really trained for a gunman coming into their school. I don't think your kids are really trained for what it means to be a teenager and horny and to have every biological process in your body saying, I need to procreate, to the point of having children. Like, that's what your body is telling you to do. And your mind is saying, well, I have to pass my classes. I don't think that we do enough as parents to prepare our children for that. So here's a building where anything can happen, and we have let it run our lives, run our children's lives. So, yeah, please, if you don't like the message, the message isn't for you. But I'm on here on this channel, I Hate LA, Love Me Anyway, to say, some of the things that were going on in this state for the past couple of years, because there was another shootout recently, and I think in an office building or maybe in a university here in California since I've been here. And all I can think is, well, where were the parents? How exactly did this person grow up? Did they have any interventions whatsoever in their life? And also, what are the securities in these buildings? These are conversations we need to have. If you're not willing to have that conversation and you want to pick a fight with me, fine, pick a fight with me. I don't mind you disagreeing with me, but disagree with me. Like, if you want to have a popularity contest, go find someone else. I'm not on here to be popular. I'm on here to try and save lives, because you don't want to be that parent that gets that phone call. Yeah, your kid's not coming home. Oh, by the way, it's a closed coffin this time. You don't want to be that parent. So if you don't want to hear that this happens in America, you want to stick your head in the sand, you want to just ignore the suffering of the people that leads to people thinking about violent acts, go find another channel. Because this channel, we're going to talk about reality. We're going to talk about what is going on in America, because not everyone has the opportunity to just pick up and leave. I'm going to leave America because I fucking hate it here. I don't want my kids to grow up American. I want them to grow up smarter than that. And I mean that in every bit of sincerity. I grew up American and I rejected it. I rejected it even though I served in the military and I received an honorable discharge. I'm not disagreeing with myself, but whatever. And I'm not contradicting myself. America could be a wonderful country if it didn't have schools that are now shooting galleries. America would be better if it had avenues for children to read more or to finish their fucking homework. And parents that said, yeah, I'll help you with your homework, and then you can watch your boring entertainment shows on your television. What happened to freedom of speech? Freedom of speech has taken a backdoor to celebrity status and social shaming. When people come into my chat room and they start talking about I'm a nobody, or I disagree. It's like, if you want to disagree, then tell me why you disagree. Otherwise, just enjoy the chat. I talked about it at length in past podcasts of schools are not meant for your kids anymore. Your kids are smarter than these schools. Your kids should be graduating earlier. Your kids should have the opportunity at maybe 15, 16 to say, do I need to go to a stupid fucking prom in order to be an adult, or could I just get a job? Could I just go to college early? Because how many of these kids are wasting 2 to 3 years of their life when they could be doing something else? If I had the choice at 15, 16 to have my own apartment and have a job, I would have chosen that over wasting one more year because I graduated early. I should be in grad school right now. I'm training to be a doctor and an engineer and finish my doctorate in mathematics. So I'm trying, but it's difficult because the VA doesn't want to pay for that. The VA just wants to be a motherfucker about it, so whatever. And as to, not going to school, I don't want my kids to go to school. I don't. But if you decide that you want your kids to go to school, great. Be an involved parent. Be the involved parent that says, when you go to school and you come home, school doesn't end. I want you still to be in learning mode. I want you still to have the level of focus that you have there, back at home, finish the homework, and let's do it together. I think parents should be doing the homework with their children, not for their kids, but with their kids. Sometimes a kid just needs encouragement. They just need to hear it's okay if you don't know the answer to the question. Why don't you still keep trying until you get it right? And yes, I did serve in the United States Air Force. I was sexually abused by Master Sergeant Miranda, and therefore I am honorably discharged. We actually have a bear in the chat. Okay, I will read that. No, kids need to be kids and enjoy childhood before it goes forever. I agree. There are countries that I will not mention, but there are definitely countries that put so much focus on their schoolwork that the kids are mentally disturbed, they commit suicide, they turn to drugs, they completely withdraw from society. I don't agree with that either. I just think parents need to be involved. And I think you need to have better schools. And as to, kids need to be kids forever, I don't think having a gunman come to your school is allowing them to be kids forever. I think that actually shortens the lifespan and the likelihood of being a kid when you have a gunman come into your school. And we have to talk about that because it keeps happening in America. It happened once and then everybody else just got into their head. That's just the thing you do. And America takes that as, well, this is what happens in America. They take it in the same stride as a hurricane. They take it in the same stride as a tornado came and blew a village away. Someone shot your kid. That's how they deal with things in America. So I agree. Let them be kids. But why not intercede and say, I want you to have the best start in life. I want you to live. I want you to live without an eating disorder. I have anorexia because of my PTSD from military sexual trauma. So I barely eat. It disgusts me to eat. It disgusts me to eat in public because of all the interactions that people have with me. Now, as to making something of yourself 20 plus, sometimes that's way too late. I said in the previous podcast, I have PTSD from military sexual trauma, so it is hard for me to even be around women, let alone sympathize, empathize with what is going on. I just have to be as logical as possible. However, I cannot imagine it is easy to grow up as a woman in America, grow up in a world where biologically you should be having your kids when you are young. You should be having kids when your body is set up for that. And a lot of women, they push it off or they have it young and they don't have the maturity for it. They don't have anything to fall back on. How many high school kids have one night of fun and then she's out of college, she's out of high school, she can't be a cheerleader anymore? I mean, I'm talking about Glee. I mean, if anything, I will give you an example that you can relate to. Quinn, talented woman. And her life was derailed because she had sex. Is having sex that terrible? No. Should they be having sex? Maybe yes, maybe no. But where is any sort of a safety net for them. And there isn't a safety net for them. And am I an alien? Of course I'm an alien. You're an alien too. I mean, we came to this planet hitchhiking on a meteorite, grew from some sort of fungal offshoot, which is why fungi and humans are so related. Your penis is basically a mushroom. If you don't think of it that way, then you're not looking at your own genitalia. Look at your genitalia. That's a fucking mushroom. You're a fucking alien. How do you earn to provide? It depends on, what style or level of lifestyle you adopt. Do you want your kids to be like well provided for, or do you want them to be well loved? Because sometimes those are two very, very different things. You could believe that too. You can. It's just the overwhelming scientific proof is that you are a hitchhiker that got on a meteorite and then crash landed onto this planet. We don't think like other animals. We don't behave like other animals. We may have evolved from some of those animals, but we combined with the mushrooms. We ate mushrooms. I don't know if you know this, but we were eating mushrooms. So whatever that alien DNA is, it's in all of us now, because we are an offshoot of a bunch of hominids that went on mushroom trips, double the size of our brains, and which is why we have things like cell phones, which I can use to have this conversation with you. It's because of this alien species, not even a species, an alien kingdom, a whole kingdom came on a meteorite, crash landed on Earth, and we brought that into ourselves, and it terraformed us. It changed who we are genetically. And I know that might be a bit radical for people, but yeah, that's what the truth is. This is why I gave the example of being a farmer. People think that in order to raise a family, you need a house, or you need a car, or you need a cell phone, you need this, you need that. You don't need any of that. That's just good marketing. You know what you need? You need love, you need laughter, you need happiness, you need faith. That's what you need. Anything else is kind of worthless. I don't know the name of the movie. I think it's just called Happiness, or Happiness Throughout the Globe. But they did a study of the level of happiness in all the countries around the world. And America did not rate that high for such a narcissistic, egotistical country. I agree with you. I hate cell phones. I hate technology. I'm not going to ignore it as a tool, because for me, it's a tool. It's not a lifestyle. I try to make sure that my cell phone is used for things just like this, just for podcasts. Thank you. I take that as a compliment. I actually play guitar, so I appreciate that. And I sing, so. And I should look like Bob Marley and Jimi Hendrix. We're ancestrally related. Not directly, but close enough. So it makes more sense that some genetic expressions would come out the same exact way. And I have terrible style. Okay, that is actually funny. Bob Hendricks. But because I'm English, it would really be Robert Hendricks. Robbie Hendricks. Oh my god. Okay, okay. So I'm trying to get through this. I don't. If you don't need a house or a cell phone, then get rid of yours. I would love to, but then there are things like I have to call 911, which is one of the reasons why I'm trying to Sir Hendricks Robert the Third. Okay, okay. You are funny. Thank you, thank you. I needed that. I was having a really bad day, but thank you for that. I'm trying to leave California specifically because I keep having to call the police, and then the police come all the way out here, and then they tell me, well, we can't do anything. It's because I live in an apartment building. And when you live in an apartment building, you don't own it. You can't define your space as you should. When you have an apartment, you should be able to say, this space within the doors is mine, and the hallways are shared space. And if someone encroaches upon your space, like trying to break into your apartment, it should be an easy open and shut case of this person tried to break into my apartment, or this person is trespassing in the building and they don't live here, they're not paying rent here, whatever. You should be able to say that. But in California, they don't care. So I would call the police, and the police would just say, well, you're not the owner of the building, so if people want to trespass, people want to do whatever, we're not going to do anything about it. So, yes, California is strange about enforcing laws. It's like they don't really want to arrest people. I had a woman who threw a bike at me on the subway, and it was pretty clear that she threw the bike at me. And I'm trying to talk to the security guards and say, hey, call the police over. There's a policeman right there. And they're just like, yeah, we could. And so the person just walked off and boarded the next train instead of seeing the justice for throwing a bike at me. They're like, we're just going to let this person go. And that's the attitude that LA has. And I know that I could be the person who's like, oh, I'm so angry. But I also had to say, well, why do I live here? Why do I live in a state where I don't feel safe? If I don't feel safe in this state, I should just leave this state. Which is why I have housing because of my VA benefits. I have food because I'm impoverished, so I'm on food stamps. And I had to say, no, I don't want to renew either one of those. I don't. Because if I had a choice between having my meals 100% provided for me and having housing and then having freedom, I choose freedom. If it means that I have to make some adjustments to how I live, what I eat, how often I eat, whatever, I would rather be free. I would rather live in a state or a different country where my freedom was recognized. Where I could say, I own a house, get the fuck off my property. You can say that when you own a house. That is the reason why people own property, to tell other people, get the fuck off my lawn, get the fuck off my stoop, get the fuck off my porch, get the fuck off my entire acre. That's what you can say when you're a homeowner. When you're an apartment renter, you can't say that. You can say, don't break into my apartment. But even so, the police will say, yeah, whatever. That's the attitude that the LA police have here. And it's nothing against them. It's just, if that's the attitude that they have, then I can't live here. I can't live in a country that lets stuff like that happen. And I can't live in a place where I have people who are crazy enough to try and break into my apartment. It's like, what's the point? So looking at things now, I'm doing this podcast, but I'm doing this podcast until I leave. Once I leave Los Angeles, I don't know, somebody else is going to have to fight this fight because I have to do what's best for my health. I have to do what is best for me. And for me right now, I said in the last podcast, I want to see the Milky Way. I want to see stars. I want to see the aurora borealis. I want to see an eclipse or see a conjunction of planets with a telescope. That is what I want. I could give two shits about how much internet I have. I want to live in a tent. After after having people grope me on public transportation, reminding me of my military sexual trauma, fuck living in America. Fuck traveling on a train or a bus in public and saying, I'm doing something for the environment. Can you get your hand off my crotch? If I have to say that, then fuck it. Let you people enjoy this public transportation and I'll just get a tent. I'll get a tent. I'm practicing eating trail mix right now. Because I don't want a stove. Hi, Cheerio. Hi. And to what you said, chicken, when you have a dream in your life, and some young people have dreams, some young people dream about being doctors or scientists or just playing in a professional sporting league. Why should they have to sacrifice their lives in a school that cannot protect them? Because their parents said, take my children, take my precious children, and do whatever you want. When you let your kids just go out the door and you send them to these places, you don't know what's happening there. They do parent-teacher conferences to help you check in, but you don't know what's going on there. You don't know if your kid is learning anything. You don't know if your kid's being bullied. You don't know if a gunman is walking in through the front door. You don't know. That uncertainty has to be answered now. I'm sick and tired of Americans ignoring this issue and saying, well, if we elect this president will pass this gun law, or this president will increase the amount of security at the schools. I don't give a shit. I want America to fight back by going to these schools and saying, no, either you provide the security and the safety that I need in order to go back to work, or guess what? My kid is pulled out of school and is going to be right next to me on the assembly line, in the office, on a construction site. I don't give a shit. That is how America should behave after the first incident of gun violence. After the first incident of gun violence, Americans should have recoiled in horror that any parent could suffer a loss like that. They shouldn't have said, it was some other town. It's some other family. It could be you. It could be your kids. It could be your family. But yet still, no one ever had that conversation of, wow, I went to school, I was fucked up. Maybe I shouldn't bring my kids to go to school too. Oh, and thank you. I have wild, crazy hair, and guess what? It's still attached to my head. That thick beard that I have here right now is sign of, even through my transgender status, because of all the stress that these American women have put me through after being sexually abused by Master Sergeant Miranda, this hair and this hair on my face still says that I'm male. So yeah, I look wild, I look disheveled, I look healthy. I look at a lot of people who are still going out in the world and they've got liver spots all over their face, they've got thinning hairlines. And if I have a choice between having wild Medusa like hair and having no hair, well, guess what? You must be made of stone because you'll be rock hard looking at this, because this is a sign of what a man looks like. And if you people weren't so caught up in your Hollywood beauty, you would recognize that all of the shampoos, the conditioners that you put in your hair are the same reason that you are thinning your hair. They call it male pattern baldness, but they don't call it chemical poisoning through your scalp. So once again, look at my luscious, out of control hair and be jealous, because my hair is lovely. It is a mess and it's all mine. So thank you, Brian, for coming into the chat, and let me send you on your way. Your parents didn't want to know. I hate to say that, Cheerio, but parents don't want to know that their kids are being bullied. They don't want to know that their kids are in danger. You know why? Because then they would have to worry. And parents don't like to worry. They like the easy, unknowable of they walked out the door and of course they'll come home. Of course. You cannot take that for granted. You cannot take your children for granted. And if anything came out of those gun violence events that keep happening in America, it should be that our children are precious, that we need to be invested in their lives and we need to get them out now. If your child needs to be emancipated, let them be emancipated. If your child needs to find a job, let them find a job. If your child needs to move to a new city, let them move to a new city. Anything to get them out of these schools, because the longer they're in these schools, the more opportunities there are for psychological damage or just pregnancy or murder. It is a very, very dangerous time. And it doesn't have to be. If your child is a genius, we need that genius now. We can't wait for these geniuses to survive high school. We need genius back in America. We can't just let genius fizzle out because someone had a bad day and came to school with a gun. So I'm going to keep having these conversations, and I know that I'm going all over the place with my environmental issues, but there are a lot less environmentalists when they get gunned down in high schools. So yeah, I think this is an environmental issue. As I once again enjoy my probiotic trail mix. And hello, new people in the chat. Morikino, Texas, hello. My name is Ian Ileana. Aviation, welcome back to the chat. And once again, thank you for your subscription. As you can see, things are a bit heated. I have a couple of people in the chat who are rude, and it is not okay to be rude. If you want to criticize me, please do. But we're going to keep things nice and civil in my chat room. And moving forward, if people cannot be civil, I'm just going to have to either remove you or end the chat sooner. But I'm probably not going to, because I still want to talk about environmental issues and what's going on in America, because someone has to. I mean, I'm reading about Cheerio being bullied, and all I can think is, why were you being bullied? Like, why is high school just an excuse to try and force you into being something that you're not? If you're fat in high school and people bully you because of that, does that make you any way more healthy? No. It just makes you eat more. So what good is that? Wouldn't it be better to tell that person who is fat in high school, you know what? Why don't you just get out? Get out of the fucking high school. Those people are losers. Those people are going to be losers for their entire lives. Go do something else. Why don't you go start a new job? Why don't you go to college early and be recognized for your genius instead of being ridiculed for something that means nothing? When you have an education, you can do things like focus on your nutrition. When you leave a toxic environment like a high school, you have opportunities to learn more about health, learn more about fitness, and care a lot more about it and have more time to devote yourself to it. We keep these kids in high school, we keep these kids in school, and that's not where they need to be. They need to be out of school and doing something, moving their bodies. Who wants to sit in a chair and hear about the fucking Civil War? How about you just take a test on the Civil War and then go do something else with your life? Oh, hello to New Zealanders everywhere. Team All Blacks for me, for rugby. So I don't have kids. I call myself daddy. I'm daddy on X because someone has to talk about this. I've adopted California. I know it does seem like I'm abandoning it by going to another country, leaving for Canada at the end of this month, but I can continue this discussion, but I can continue this discussion from a tent. I can continue this discussion from a country where I don't have to feel crowded. I don't have to be groped in public, and where my freedom to just be a transgender person can be recognized because I live in a tent and I don't talk to people and people leave me alone. That's what I want. And also, if I leave America, I think I might actually find love. There are several Canadians who are looking for love, and I don't know, maybe one of them might love me. All I know is I'm in a state right now, and I don't want to love any of these people because these people let forest fires blaze under the control of the National Guard and didn't take care of it until they called the National Guard, which is far too late. And they also allow workplace shootings and gun violence and Black Lives Matter and all the myriad of things that are going on in this area that just, it doesn't make sense to me because these are things that are just common sense. So I would rather leave for a country where it's less strife and drama. I want freedom, and I thought America was a place of freedom, and it just isn't. I mean, you lose a lot of freedom when you come to a city because you're surrounded by people who are so psychologically damaged that they cling to these cities like rats. When what you really need is a small town. I tell people on my podcast, if you have an opportunity to escape a city, escape a city. Find yourself a small town, find yourself a village. The air quality is better. The people are friendlier most of the time. You'll be more active. You'll have more incentive to walk around. You won't need a car quite as much. You won't need public transportation quite as much. You might actually make friends and bond with people. You might be outside more. And hello, unknown. Nice to meet you. Are you a complete unknown? Because if so, you gotta hook me up with that lead actor's his number. He's so cute. Thank you, thank you. People have been ragging on me about my fucking hair, but my hair's actually on my head, so I don't know. I like it, and I'm the only one who has to like it because, as I said, I am a tree-hugging environmentalist. My dog thinks I'm the coolest, and I think that will kind of have to be enough until I find a human who wants to love me and wants to love the planet too. Oh, I live in California. I hate California, which is why the podcast is called I Hate LA. Love me anyway, because I really do fucking hate this city. I hate this city. I hate its people. I hate its streets. I hate how filthy it is. And yeah, love me anyway, because you should hate it for the same reasons I do. There is no reason for you to breathe in smog. I mean, you come to LA because you want to go to the beach. You come to LA because you want to meet a celebrity or you want to be a celebrity. You don't come to LA to lick the inside of an ashtray. You didn't come to LA to suck on the exhaust pipe from a car. But that's what you do when you come to a city like Los Angeles. And I could say Los Angeles, but I mean, that's the same exact thing with London. It's the same exact thing with New York. Same exact thing with Toronto. Berlin, every single one of these areas where they still have petroleum-based cars. I mean, when you're using diesel engines, all you're really doing is polluting the atmosphere. But when you pollute the atmosphere, people, say, what does it matter? I mean, it just goes up into the air. It's like you no longer have clean air. I would consider that, except I'm just done with American people. I'm done. I would love to live in the mountains. I'm First Nation / Native American, so it's more natural for me to be in the forest. It's more natural for me to hike. I love to run. I have physical injuries, so it's not as easy, but I love to move and the physicality of my body. I love to dance. I love the freedom of my body. And there is no freedom in a place like this. Hi, Jaden. Welcome back. And I know that people talk about areas like Colorado, Maine, Vermont, Connecticut, even North Dakota, where it's just wide open spaces and beautiful and everything. It's just not enough for me anymore. And it's not enough for me. And I have to think about what I want to eventually raise a family. It's going to be extremely hard for me to raise a family because I have PTSD from military sexual trauma. So that will take therapy, that will take several doctors to help me, and I will really have to find a very patient partner. I won't give up. I won't give up on the idea of being an actual father and raising children in a household of love and respect for this planet. Something that they don't teach in the schools because they don't think that's important. That they don't teach, you got to start planting trees. And you should plant trees because then you can visit those trees. And those trees will be a memory for you of something nice that happened in your life. I consider myself bisexual. I'm transgender now because, as I said, I'm too traumatized to consider myself 100% categorically male. And also, I have traits like empathy and compassion, and I'm a deep thinker, things that aren't exactly male. So, why deny that? Why deny the fact that I have a deep comprehension of love and respect for animals and respect for plants? I love healing. I love helping people. So I can't consider myself 100% male because that nurturing healing part that doesn't come from a male perspective. It doesn't. So I can't associate with females after my military sexual trauma, but they do have some good personality traits. So I'm going to give you some advice that I wish I had given myself. I wish I gave myself. Sorry, I am terrible with English. It's not my first language, which is why when people talk about my accent, it's just like, well, you really want me to speak another language? I will certainly will. But to your question, I say don't rush into anything. You know, it's very easy to say that you want the physicality, you want to feel loved. Find someone who is fun, makes you feel special, makes you feel like the only one because you are the only one. You want to invest more time in the quality of their character instead of just the hotness of their body or how they make you feel. You really want someone who is trustworthy. And that's very, very hard to find. And you should never be scared to come out. It's either you come out or you don't. And as far as what your family thinks of it, it doesn't matter. If your family approves or it doesn't. You know, we have a saying in the LGBTQ community. I cannot speak. I'm terrible at English, but I'm so English. So what can I do? We have a saying in the LGBTQ community of family isn't who you were born with, it's who you choose to have in your life. So you may have your family say, well, we knew the signs, and we accept you, or they might not. But you always have that option of finding friends and allies that you can sit, have a dinner with, laugh, have fun with, have sex with if you want, but have your own group of people who love you, who respect you. And sometimes that's worth more because family can be extremely, extremely difficult. But when you have good quality friends, your good quality friends will see you through everything. So I highly recommend to you have really, really good friends. Okay, I'm going to take care of both those questions. I'm going to take aviations first, and then I'll go back to the other one. You think diesel is ruining the environment? I think that people are ruining the environment. I don't think diesel is ruining the environment. I talk about these diesel engines, because there's a human on the other side of it who doesn't care to check the exhaust, doesn't care to have their car inspected, doesn't care that when you sit in traffic, you're just wasting more energy because nobody turns off their engines. Even if it's been at a standstill for 20, 30 minutes, you don't turn off your engine. You keep your car running so you can have the air on, you can have the heat on, you can have your cell phone charged, you can have the radio playing, you can do all of that, but nobody turns off their engines. So I say that humans are ruining the environment. And humans are ruining the environment because they don't realize we need to start thinking past cars. Cars are not the future. They can't be the future because the future is going to be you will be quarantined. You will be stuck in your apartment, your house. You will work from home. You will have your food delivered. You will not go outside because outside there will be a plague. And for those people who say, "Oh, that's so doomsday," no, that's what 2019, 2020 during the COVID pandemic, which by the way was a bioterrorist event, which was a test. And guess what? We failed. We failed that test. So cars are not going to be the answer. The answer is always going to be social change. When people have less and less reason to go outside, less and less reason to use a car, there will be less cars. And that's the only way to solve something like this. And welcome to the chat, Sparky. Now to go back to unknown. You never know. I have to say, put your safety first. Your safety is what matters. But there is something called the Kinsey scale. There are people who are 100% heterosexual or 100% homosexual, as in they would never entertain any possibility. Those people are extremely rare. Most people are somewhere in between. And it takes a combination of several things to come into alignment for them to consider same sex or opposite sex arrangements in a bedroom, but that possibility does exist. Use your discretion because you never know. And I'm one of those people who says you can't let fear stop you from feeling something deeper because sometimes it is really, really fun and it is really, really good. And I wish more guys that were in bromances and hang out with their buds or whatever just admitted the fact that you love this person. And maybe you never have sex, but admit that you love them. Admit that you want them in your life, that you appreciate them, that you cherish them, that you love them. Say it to them. Say it to them. Same thing with women. There are women who rely on each other, that support one another. Men come and go, but the bonds that you have with your best girlfriend, that's love. Say it. Call it what it is. Even if you don't have sex, call it love because love is important to have in your life. And most people need to recognize that they do have love in their lives. It may not be the physical love that they want, but they still have love. And sometimes when you say out loud that you love this person, you might be surprised. They might actually say to you that they love you as well. So safety first. I saw this horrific show where, gay bashing does happen. So use your discretion, safety first. I cannot stress that enough. But also, if you feel safe, if you feel comfortable, if you feel a vibe, explore it carefully. You never know. I'm looking forward to experiencing new things. I mean, when I moved to Los Angeles, I didn't come here looking for love. I didn't come here trying to find the one or anything like that. But everyone deserves to have that. Everyone deserves to feel loved, to feel respected. And sometimes you have to respect yourself If you are in a city or a town that makes you disgusted to your very core as a person, like Los Angeles does for me, I hate LA. Love me anyway. Just leave. If you feel like the dating apps that are around you never have the type of person that you are interested in. I used everything from Grinder to Tinder to all of that. Okay, Cupid, Hinge, I've tried them all. When I look in this area, I never find anyone who's my type. And my type, unfortunately, yet so fortunately, and I don't mind saying this out loud, I like Southern gentlemen, I like farmers, I like country boys, or maybe a cowgirl. I'm still bisexual, even with the PTSD from military sexual trauma. But that's not what's here. I know what it's like to have someone who says, let's not go to the club or the bar, let me cook you a meal, or let's have a date, and let me just sit with you and have a conversation because I want to get to know you better. And those are the kind of things that I don't find here. And like I said, I'm only really attracted to Southern men because of that. And there are none here. There are well coiffed, pretty boys here, but I'm not into that. I'm into rugged, blue jean, blue collar, country music loving men. And I sing bluegrass. So I don't want to live in this area because I would rather sing bluegrass and have my boyfriend play guitar and sing original songs to me. Of course, if you want to share a question, as I say, I always have the right to refuse a question. But you may, if you want to know anything. I'm all about giving the advice, even if I'm not exactly qualified for it. If anything, and maybe something I say might make you think. I just think America could be a beautiful place. America could be a wonderful country. That's why I joined the military. It's not because I dislike the country, it's because I love the country. Oh, I didn't mean to laugh. It's been a while since anybody's even asked me that. Um, I I will respectfully say that you should find someone a little bit more local to you, and definitely work on yourself more because you should feel more confident and just feel relaxed enough to have a good time. And right now I'm too stressed. I tried to date someone here and I got one abusive boyfriend who tried to get me addicted to drugs, and I could not deal with that. And then the other was tried to pretty much bribe me with alcohol and to loving. And yeah, I wasn't into that either. It's just like a bad vibe I was getting from the dating scene here. Everyone was just like, can we just like drug you and make you unconscious so that you're more receptive to being loved? And I wasn't about that. I want to maybe try that out, but as I said, it's like that show from NBC, The Good Place, where it doesn't matter the scenario, it doesn't matter the setting. Every place seems like a good place until you peel back some layers. Because once you see what they're hiding underneath all of the glitz and the glamour, like California. California And the Discover LA ads are just designed to bring gullible people to this state to just ruin themselves and make themselves miserable. Because for every single one of the people that become a celebrity, you know, they do everything right, they get movie deals, they get recording contracts. There are thousands who don't. And they move here, they sign leases, they fall in love, but not really. And they are stuck in this city that just chews up your health and robs you of life. And if I move to Colorado, I'm looking at it and I'm just saying I would enjoy the fresh air, I would enjoy this, I would enjoy that. But also I just need the ability to be by. Ever since my military sexual trauma, I've always been surrounded by people. I've always been in a situation where I could not be myself. I could not heal in any way. It was constant exposure to stress. And I know that LA is all about the exposure therapy because to them, with all my talent and my dancing and my music and my really strange way of speaking, I would be a very, very good fit for the entertainment industry. So they have tried very, very hard to just shove these stresses on me. So thank you, Jacob. I appreciate that compliment. I live in California. And as you can tell, I do rep my Brazilian heritage. So they want me to be some sort of pop star. I mean, they want me to do movies, and I don't want any of that. What I want is freedom. I want the ability to breathe fresh air and listen to nature. Just the stillness. It's so beautiful. And to, I don't know, have like 3 or 4 dogs. Oh, so close, so close. No, I do get that a lot because my father was English. So because of that, because of his British ancestry, I sound like him. And then there was the small fact that all my mates were either Welsh, Irish, Scottish, Northern Irish, or Aussies or New Zealanders. So I never actually befriended many Americans. And when I did, I didn't try and pick up the way that they spoke because I'm an individual. I mean, when you pick up a local accent, it's because you want to be like the people around you. I never did. I wanted to defend them because that's where I live, and you should always defend your country. Even if I leave this country, I'm still going to defend the country because you have to. The earth is a bunch of countries. I think they all have their own problems, but it's always the fact that you never cooperate, you never talk to the other countries. So I would rather, okay, I'm gonna put this right here. Okay, I don't really agree with that. All right, I have no idea what goes on with American sports. I've never followed American sports. I played a bit of football when I was younger, and that was European style football or maybe Latin America style football. I enjoy that. I still enjoy that. Um, yeah, I have no idea what goes on with American sports. I'm pretty sure that that's extremely important to people right now. I don't know anything about it. I am a person who just am so out of it. I guess that's the way to say that here. But I don't, because I mean that word is so fucking ugly. And to be honest, it was, yeah, it's football for me. Sorry. You want to call it football and say it's bunch of burly men in pads hurling into one another. No, no. I don't consider that my football. I consider what I do football. I don't consider that football. I consider that homosexuality. That's what I consider that. I'm sorry, you have to be. I mean, just look at the speed that they gather trying to crash into the men. Uh, that's what that is. Same thing with the wrestling, and I mean, come on, the pageantry of it, the costumes, the storylines. It's a soap opera for repressed homosexuals. And I say that as a person who appreciates all of the fine heterosexual actors who did that, but you're literally walking around in a bikini performing lines that aren't Shakespeare. Who is this for? Because it's not for traditional heterosexual men. It's for men who want to worship you. Therefore, homosexual. I think wrestling is always been a homosexual activity, and I really do wish people could just admit that. Jacob, I worry about what they have done to your water supply because you are high as a motherfucker right now. I have no idea what is going on in my chat, but neither here nor there. I'm just here to talk about environmentalism and to cast shade upon the fans of wrestling and American football for saying that you would rather bugger a man up his ass, but you don't want to admit that. So instead, you watch men in bikinis strut around a ring and hold each other in very erotic positions. And the same exact thing happens in American football. What is a huddle? What is a tackle? If you forego completing high school, completing the rest of your college career because you would rather hug a man to the cheer and adoration of your fans, I don't consider that to be the most heterosexual expression of life. Everything I do is documented. And I'm not just saying it because I think there are cameras in my building or maybe some sort of listening device. No, I'm 100% American citizen. I don't know. I don't fit into this. I'm one of those people who pulled back the magic curtain while the magician was stuffing rabbits into a hat. I saw the truth of the world, and once you see the truth of the world, once you see the truth of how your country works, you can't go back. It's like Barbie. I don't know if you saw the movie Barbie, but everybody wants to go back to, well, I was wearing high heels and I didn't think about anything deep. Nobody wants to be a person who wears sensible shoes and lets themselves get a little fat, a little pudgy, and is just really intelligent. I think those are very admirable traits. I actually prefer a thicker guy because I know that thicker guy is a thinker. That person appreciates food because they understand food gives you life. And I appreciate having a partner who thinks. Sometimes that's exactly a good idea because, they think so much. It's not exactly a good lay, but I would rather have a partner that thinks. So I prefer a little chunky chunk, not too much. I like a bear. I like a bear or an otter. Hairy chest. I'm into that. You see, Jacob brings up a brilliant point. And what am I talking about? I talk about environmental issues. I don't know why I started talking about sports. This is the second time I've gotten brought into a sports conversation. I have no business talking about sports. But as I said, love is out there and it's February, and I know that Valentine's Day is just a marketing ploy to make you buy expensive things. I bought a movie ticket for myself to have a date with a fictional character because I'm a loser with PTSD and I couldn't bring myself to talk to a real person. So I made a date with a fictional character from a television show. But for any of my fans out there, I say find someone of quality or go find someone of quality. There's no reason to be alone and no reason to be upset. Trump is our president now, and I am hoping that things turn out nicely. I started this podcast talking about these Canadian tariffs that are going to go on, and I agree with the president. I agree with the president. I think the president was right to make these tariffs because it'll actually strengthen the Canadian economy. Like, it's actually a very, very good time for both. Because if you are still buying American products after they become more expensive, well, it's good for America because now America has more money. And then if you're a Canadian who says, fuck that, I'd rather buy a Canadian product which is cheaper and comes from my neighbors, well, good for you because now you're helping your neighbor whose business was suffering because the American companies were competing against it. You see, that's something that I have started to talk about in my podcast, Aviation. I'm so glad that you came into the chat so we can have this conversation. I love Bethesda. I love Bethesda for several reasons, but mostly because they're one of those companies like Disney that, sure, come to have a good time, come to laugh, come to see CGI, come to experience a reality unlike what you know. But here's another side of reality. Bethesda, through their Fallout games, started to explain what radiation is. How radiation is deadly. How radiation is in everything. It's in the food you eat. It's in your water. And it's definitely on your skin. One of the major reasons why I can't be this south. Somebody keeps trying to tell me to go to Colorado, and I'm saying that amount of snow, that amount of white is just going to reflect more sun. And the reason why I look as young as I am for being so old is because I sequestered myself outside that sun. That sun is aging you. That sun is giving you cancer. It's supposed to give you vitamin D. It does. And to be honest, the longer you're in the sun, the more vitamin D you get, the healthier you are, because it is healthy to be outside in the sun, but it's not healthy to have radiation at high amounts. Your reaction to the radiation is to make vitamin D. It's a weird sort of thing there. I didn't know you were in the area. Congratulations. You should definitely do a podcast too. That radiation changes your cells, changes your DNA. I mean, we like to think that, aging is just your DNA unraveling over time. And no, it's not just unraveling over time. It's having nucleotides knocked out of sequence. It's having thing like your skin hardening up, drying out because of the sun, therefore allowing cracks to appear because you don't have enough healthy skin cells to keep dividing. So I don't think people understand. I know people understand in this neighborhood because I have seen a bunch of people with parasols walking around, umbrellas. People walk around with umbrellas over their heads, and it's not because it rains here, because it doesn't rain here. It's because I had coconut. I know, it's gross. It's not because it rains here, it's because the sun is too strong. So I recommend to people, if you want to stay looking young, healthy, fresh, and you want to protect your health, get your sun at the beginning of the day, get your sun at the end of the day. That midday sun, not for you. I mean, it used to make sense when we were out in the forest and they had bunch of trees, layers of trees, that the sun could filter most of its radiation around. So therefore, by the time it reached you, it's at a lower level. So you could be out for longer. Or in my case of my family's ancestry, we used to put makeup all over our bodies. We used to put makeup on our faces. And it wasn't just makeup, it was body paint, it was face paint, war paint. So I have to tell people, start guarding yourself, because even things like melanin doesn't last for forever. I mean, it can't compete with the strength of what's going on outside. And NASA Sun, which I don't really subscribe to because I hate NASA, I think they're idiots. They still publish small little videos of, did you know that there was a solar flare? Because there was a solar flare and it was of this magnitude. And when it's of a high magnitude, all I can think is, that's a little bit more radiation that we're experiencing right now. So you have choices. You can either put on sunscreen or you could stay indoors. I highly recommend to people, just stay indoors. The people who go outside, thank you. Thank you to all my delivery people. Thank you to people who do the things that I can't do. But also thank you for risking your health in order to do so, because it's a health risk to go outside. It's a health risk to deal with other people. Every time you go outside, you're risking your life. I mean, I'm being manipulated and pressured by whatever sort of LA cult is targeting me. But they do have a point. When you step outside your apartment in this town of Los Angeles or any town, you are risking your life. You're risking your life and you're also risking your happiness. I don't agree that you should stay indoors all the time. And I don't agree with them that I should spend all my time indoors. So I'll just leave where I could go outside, where I could enjoy fresh air. I highly recommend to people, ask more questions. Because this is something that we should be talking about as a society. Everyone talks about renewable energy, everyone talks about ending nuclear power plants and the nuclear power plant programs that they have across the globe. There's a nuclear explosion that is in the sky, irradiating us. Yes, you do get vitamin D and you need vitamin D and it's all important and whatever. But if you get too much radiation, you will become sick. You will either have melanomas, you will have hyperpigmentation, you will have, your skin will just turn to leather. And your skin will dry out and you'll look old as fuck. No. If I'm being honest about the way things are going, there will no longer be a need for a power plant. If I'm going about it the way that I will, once I have my veteran benefits, I'm going straight into engineering. So once I go into engineering, I'm going to go into what I'm calling, anyway, it doesn't need a name. It's just going to be a self-sufficiency initiative spread throughout the globe, where I'm going to start talking to people and saying, what do we need in order to make it so that every house is self-sufficient, every town is self-sufficient, every city is self-sufficient, every country is self-sufficient? Because we can't have commerce as we've had for years, because it wasn't that someone from another country came here and brought us COVID. It was because we had people doing business deals with a country where COVID happened that came back here and weren't properly quarantined or checked. And then allowed it to spread. So as far as power future, no, there will never be a need for a power plant. You don't even need power plants now. You just need to set it so that the energy flows through like a faucet. You take a sip from it when you need it, but the water is always there. This whole idea of power plants and batteries, it's bad math and it's bad science. You don't need power plants. You don't need batteries. What you need to do is have it so that there is an energy lattice network throughout the entire globe, an internet around the globe, that if you want to connect to it, you connect to it. If you don't want to connect to it, it doesn't do anything. And it's perfectly safe. And yes, I do realize now that I'm saying it, that that's even more radiation than so there would have to be some shielded areas where that wasn't the case, where the energy was in that specific area of a room or a certain building, like a hospital. But even so, maybe the basement of the hospital would be part of that kind of network. But when you do things that way, then you eliminate the need for power plants altogether. You eliminate the needs for batteries. And that's where we need to go as a society. We need to actually reduce the amount of solar panels that we have, reduce the amount of wind power, reduce the amount of coal. It's not a matter of having more renewable energy producers. We have to use the producers that we have currently and use less power. Things like your cell phone should use less power. We shouldn't go the other way and say that I need to have a giant power plant to power a cell phone. And that's what most of us use anyway. I mean, people keep talking about, 8K screens and 3D and whatever. You, you spend more time with your cell phone. And the reason is because it's just more portable. And it'll be more portable to not use power plants. Change.org/genius to Mars. While I have you on the subject, my name is Ian Ileana. I'm an engineer who wants to have an expedition to Mars. Oh, the quote of the day is, sometimes things that are more expensive are worse. That is the quote of the day. And hi, Clint. Welcome back. Thank you for coming back. I'm sorry, I'm just going through all of the chat here. And hello, Bearded Viking Woodworks. Thank you for coming into the chat today. As I said, I am an engineer who wants to go to Mars. Change.org/genius to Mars. I need every signature that I can in order to request a lab from Cambridge or MIT in order to complete some of the experiments that I have in order to make a sustainability project for a Martian space colony, which I think I could make happen. No, it's not that I think, I know I could make it happen. So I have to be confident enough to say that I believe in my own designs as an engineer. I just need a lab in order to perfect it. So change.org/genius to Mars. If anyone could sign that petition and retweet it and help me reach the goal which I was meant to do, which is save the planet with good engineering and social constructs. So thank you, everyone. This has been a very, very long chat. And I'm still trying to get through my probiotic trail mix. I invite everyone to do something thoughtless. If you see litter, please pick that up. If you see any signs that your community needs help with parks or any sort of beautification project that they have to remove graffiti, please help them. I'm going to read Aviation's comment here. I feel like they're wasting the electricity. Only use what you need. The rest of the electricity will be there. Aviation, I'm so glad you said that because I have always said that there are two utilities/organizations besides NASA that need to just be dissolved and go. NASA needs to go because they don't have a public option and they're taking too damn long to go to Mars when I want to go to Mars right now. And then two would be the Veteran Affairs because they're not doing enough for veterans. I mean, here I am, I'm suffering in California and they're not giving me my benefits so I can move to maybe another state and just buy a house or start my own company or just raise a family without having to deal with people. And then three, it's the electric company. We need the grid to be removed. from our lives, from how we operate in this country. We've always been of this mindset to happy birthday, Riley. Welcome to the chat. This is Ian Ileana of I Hate LA, Love Me Anyway. I'm an environmental activist and podcaster. We've had this idea that we plug our stuff in and we need to get into the mindset of there are no plugs. It's either it is turned on because it has power in itself, or the power is always there. Because we spend a lot of money to tell a power plant to provide us power, and most of the time we don't even use it. Even things like our refrigerator, we don't even need that much power for it. We need to keep cool things cool, but how many cool places do we have in our own houses where there is no heat? And during winter, isn't that when we need to store our food? Aren't there depths of ground that you could use in order to... You see, that's what people used to do before we had fancy refrigerators. We used to actually use our heads, use the natural environment. And thank you for the compliment, Riley. I appreciate that. Thank you. We used to use our heads when it comes to these things. We used to not care that much about being connected to something. We used to be more self-sufficient. We can't go backwards. I can't tell a person, go take that cell phone and go chuck it into the river. Don't pollute. Don't chuck your phone into the river. But we can move forward and go beyond. And when I say go beyond, I mean beyond plugs, beyond electricity, beyond batteries, beyond the electric company. The sooner we divorce ourselves from the same iteration of electronic design of a capacitor and a DC port, the sooner that we can see an evolution within our society. Quite the opposite. I don't think kids are using their phones enough. How many kids are on TikTok, on YouTube, on Twitch, and they don't think that they could be on the other side? And now I say that as a person who's doing a podcast and I have people in my audience, but there are people like CT who said, I see what you're doing there, and then you know what? I can do that too. I can start my own podcast. And I say, good. I want people to start podcasts. I want people to take themselves... I mean, this is why I love Disney. I love Disney because as much as they have a huge fan base and everything, they've always been that company that says, you can do this too. Which is why I love WandaVision. Wanda Maximoff has always been my favorite character in the entire thing, next to Captain Marvel. Because when I saw WandaVision, I saw this, I mean, it's spoiler alert, but a lot of it was breaking that fourth wall of saying, whatever's going on here, you could be a part of that too. And they were very explicit in how, I won't go into spoilers because, if people haven't seen it, they still need to see it. But because of that, there's always that freedom. There's freedom to try something new. And by singing those children's songs, maybe you do become a better singer. Maybe it does become a little more bright outside. I don't know how that lyric goes. Have to wait for that cover to come out. I'm waiting on that cover to come out because I really do like that song. Anyway, I don't think they're using it correctly because they're not using it enough. I don't mind that they're on TikTok. I mind more that they're not broadcasting on TikTok. When things go wrong, if someone is bullying you and you don't pick up your phone and say, let me live stream this, that's ridiculous. If I had a cell phone, that had that capability, I would have done that for people. I would have said, look, there's somebody being bullied over there. Somebody said a homophobic comment. My teacher touched me, when we were alone together. Things like that you want to have documentation for. And I know that that's something that most celebrities would never talk about just turning on your camera and exposing yourself to being ridiculed, exposing, what's going on in the world, exposing people to your private life. I still think you have to do that. I think you have to be brave enough and confident enough and smart enough to say that if something feels wrong, I have to either document it or I have to let people know immediately. So I know the government is saying we have to end TikTok. We have to end this device, this tool that kids are using in order to connect with each other, make memes and make dance videos, which encourages children to, I don't know, move their bodies, encourages them to learn the skill of dance, learn a business skill of following trends, something that most companies require you to be able to do. I think that kids need to use social media more often. I don't think that they should be shirking the responsibilities of using it instead of going to school. But if you have 1 million followers on TikTok and you're getting paid 6 figures and you're 13, 14, are you really just a high school student or a regular person at that point? No, I don't think so. So what would be the point of pretending like you are? I still think you should finish your learning, but why not just get a private tutor? I'm always going to be for people taking themselves out of a bad situation. And it's a bad situation that when you're young and you're attractive and people want to pay you good money to do content online, why not just do content online? Still get your education, but those are your earning years. Like you could use that money and then go to a better school. You can use that money and then buy your house for your family. I've actually seen videos of that, of people who are on TikTok. They get their paycheck from it and then they say, guess what? I just bought my father's house. I believe that was the video that I watched. I watched a TikToker take his check from all of his social media and he paid for his father's mortgage. He bought his father a new car. And I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure he could, be a regular high school student and, do, regular things, go to prom, go to homecoming, whatever, go to a spring fling. You're going to go to a spring fling when you're a millionaire? What the fuck does it matter at that point? I would recommend to people, if your kid is using technology too much or whatever, intercede, just do something, or understand that they need to use it correctly. I would prefer that my child learns how to use things correctly. So I wouldn't censor them from using things like that. But there's a lot of people in the chat. Once again, happy birthday, Riley. Thank you, everyone. I am going to consider that the end of the podcast. I want to appreciate everyone coming into the podcast. I encourage people, start your own podcasts. You never know. I mean, anyone could become a fan. Anyone can be inspired by what you say. And what you say matters. It matters to me and it matters to you. So why not share that with other people? Never be afraid to exercise your freedom of speech and your freedom of press. You have a right to share your opinion. People have their rights to disagree with you, but learning how to deal with hecklers, deal with people being rude in the comments, that's a life skill. So I encourage all of my fans to also become podcasters. Join me in this discussion. Join me on this planet as a person who says we deserve better. I think you do. So thank you, everyone. I will be on tomorrow. Once again, it is 1800, that is 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, for another podcast of I Hate LA, Love Me Anyway. I'm your host, Ian Iliana. And the quote of the day is, sometimes things that are expensive are worse.